What's up? And welcome to the Single Player Experience podcast. As always, I'm your host, Sebastion Malden. And in this episode, we're going to be talking with the renowned best-selling author, Dustin Brady. Dustin is the author of the Trapped in a Video Game series and the Escape from a Video Game series. And in this episode, we're going to be talking all things video games with him. We're going to be talking about his video game origin story, how these games have kind of inspired his books, and we're going to be talking about his video game backlog list. We got all this and more coming right at you right after the intro. DJ, start the intro, man. This is the Single Player Experience, the podcast that helps single player gamers manage their video game backlog. I'm your host, Sebastion Malden, and my main quest is to help you manage your ever-growing video game backlog by letting you know which single-player games are worth your time and money so that you can have the best single-player experience. Now, without further ado, let's start the show. DJ, cut the beat. Hey everyone, like I said in the intro, we have a very special guest joining us today. He is the writer of the Escaped from a Video Game series and the Trapped in a Video Game series. He is the one, the only, Dustin, the Golden Pen Brady. Dustin, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Sebastion? Thanks for having me. This is cool.
Man, no, thank you so much for being on the show. Big fan. And I, whenever you said yes to coming on the show, I legitimately fist pumped. I'm so excited to have you here today.
That's huge. I really appreciate it. I've never been on a gaming podcast, a couple writing ones and things like that, but this is really fun. I'm excited to do this.
Oh man, I'm glad to have you here. So, I always ask my guests a couple of icebreaker questions so that, you can kind of like ease the tension into the show as well as like the guests getting to know you. So I got to ask you the hardest question any gamer ever gets asked, and that is, what are your top 5 games of all time, Dustin?
Top 5 games of all time. Well, that's a good one. For me, so I'm gonna go for me probably most memorable. So
Okay.
most of the ones I played probably the most, and they're gonna come mostly from growing up because those were the ones that I don't know. For me, like the books you read, the movies you watch, the video games you play are always the ones you play growing up are the ones most memorable. So for me, number one of all time, no question. It's the first video game I ever got. Got it when I was 6 years old. It was Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES. So that one, I think it still holds up. I'm playing through it. I have a 4-year-old son right now. So we just got done playing through. We got to World 4, which is a huge
Oh, that's cool.
deal for us. Yeah. So anyways, it's cool to replay that and that one. So that one's number one for me. And then the others, I'll go Mario 64. I remember when that came out, and it took me a few years to get my parents to get me an N64. But I remember going to Walmart, like riding my bike to Walmart with my cousin and playing the demo of the N64, like the first level of Mario, and seeing that in 3D just blew my mind. So that's number 2. And then probably Super Smash Brothers. The one I played the most growing up was the N64 one. So I played all the other ones since then, but that's the one that sticks most in my mind. I played that a lot with my brothers and my buddies across the street. So that's 3 we're up to now. I'm going to go with, again, a wild card, not necessarily the best, but the one that's most memorable. I'd probably put the most hours in. NFL Blitz 2002.
Let's go. I love it. Love it.
Has very little to do with actual football. But man, I played that one so much. And then I also I'll throw one in, just maybe a little bit more recent, although it's probably 20 years old now, is I like playing, single player, AAA games. I'll play a couple of those a year. And my favorite of all time is Half-Life 2. Is awesome. So it's a little bit different from the Nintendo ones, but that's probably my personal top 5 most memorable.
Okay, Dustin, I got a couple of follow-up questions based on your based on your list there. My first one is, how many people did you tackle after the play was over in Blitz?
Oh, I mean, you could get so many people. Like that would be my goal. You get the guy, you twirl him around, throw him out, and then you pile on people. But yeah, that was so fun.
Man, and my second question is, like, you're playing a game that you experienced from your childhood with your son right now. Like, what is that like?
It's awesome. Like usually I found that stuff doesn't work out.
Hmm.
Like, they get bored of stuff or, it just doesn't hold up for them. So it was really cool. Like we played, I have like a stand-up arcade, and so he was
Hmm.
playing the first Mario Brothers on there by himself, and level 1-1, and dying over and over again. But he really liked it. He was sticking with it. I'm like, hey, do you want to see my favorite Mario game? He's like, yeah. And so I fired it up on the Switch, and I mean, he was all in, and it's cool. So we started that probably last week, and it feels nice to be impressive to somebody, like knowing all the extra little secrets to get the warp whistles or whatever. It
Hmm.
just blows his mind. So that is really really fun, and again, it's something I wasn't expecting because those games are hard,
Yeah.
especially for a 4-year-old. But he likes trying it. He likes watching me beat the levels. And it's been really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So my second icebreaker question: if Kirby absorbed you, what kind of powers would he get?
That's a hilarious question. So I guess I don't have a great answer. But for me, I think probably like just persistence.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep going at something again and again and again. I really like, I grew up playing those old NES games, and I've never been amazing at video games, but like I beat them because I'm just going to keep going and going at it. Another game that maybe lands outside my top five, but is a Cuphead, which is another one
Oh,
where it's
really
it's
fun.
just like a brutal game, and so like I found that serves me well with my writing or with other things where I'm not going to give up at it. I'm just going to keep going at it. And it might not be the best, but it's going to get done. And so that's probably what Kirby would get from me.
Oh, that's
So he's going to
amazing.
die a lot, but he'll make it to the end eventually.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I like that. That's a really good power to have, especially in life. Dustin, I gotta ask you though, like for the people who may not know you, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Dustin Brady. I write, like you said, the traps in a video game series and escape from a video game series are the ones that I'm best known for. And so I started writing because I loved reading as a kid. I liked books that had lots of adventure in it and were funny, and I always kind of wanted to write one of those when I grew up. So I grew up and I realized that writing a book is not something that generally pays the bills. So I got a job at a newspaper. I worked at a magazine for high school athletes, and all that stuff was really cool. But this is the thing I always wanted to do. And so one day I sat down, made a list of all the things that I was really into when I was a kid.
Hmm.
One of those was video games, and specifically I was trying to think of things like I thought about all the time. And there was one thing that kept coming to my mind, and it was the game. It was from the early 90s. It's called Nickelodeon Arcade.
Okay.
And so we didn't have cable growing up, but my friend on the street, Anthony Laporta, had cable. So Anthony was cool. I remember I went to his house, and he had this show on Nickelodeon Arcade, and I watched it. And I remember, I don't remember the first part at all. It is a trivia game, and they would ask kids questions about video games. But I do remember is they would come back from commercials for the last commercial, and then the team that won, the kids would have helmets on and elbow pads and knee pads, like something big was going to go down. And then these big metal doors would open up, smoke would pour out, doors close, the kids go through, and then a TV turns on, and those real kids are inside of a real video game.
Hmm.
And like that is stuck in my mind where they're using green screens or whatever, but the kids, like in my mind, they're in this video game, they're on this magic carpet, they're fighting the boss. And I thought about that every day since then, how I could go on that show, how I could go in a video game, and all that. So really for me, like it was the combination of playing those games growing up and seeing that show that led me to write that game, that book Trapped in the Video Game. And so that was the first book I wrote. And I self-published it, which is a little bit. It's become a more popular thing to do now. But I self-published. I wanted to put it out there. As my first book, see how it's received, and go from there. And so, I wrote the book. I needed a cover for it. So I called the best artist I know. I called my brother, Jesse. So Jesse's, I grew up playing video games with him. He's 2 years younger than me. He's awesome. And he's a great artist. He's actually a professional illustrator. So I call him. I'm like, hey, can you make a cover for me? He's like, well, do you have any money? I'm like, not much. He's like, fine, I'll do it. And so I put it up on Amazon. And I waited for someone to buy it, and nobody bought it. Like that whole first day, I would just refresh all day, refresh. Zero sales, zero sales, zero sales. Till the end of the day, click refresh one more time. That zero turned into a 1. I'm like, I'm an author. This is amazing. I was marching around the house. It was so cool. Until the next day, I got a call from my mom. She said she bought the book. It was on Amazon.
No.
Like, oh, it doesn't count. It's my mom. But eventually, someone bought it for real. Someone else bought it for real. And it turns out like there's a lot of kids out there who don't think that they like reading, but do like video games. And so like, since I wrote it to be my favorite book as growing up, it's, basically nonstop action, and throughout the whole book. And so a lot of kids found that they liked reading. And so, parents would tell their parents about it. And, eventually it started selling really well. And then it got the attention of an editor at Andrews McMeel Publishing. They publish Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes and a lot of that stuff. And she called me like, hey, we really like your book. Could we republish it? I'm like, yeah, that would be cool. And so they did. So they republished the Trap series. And since then, it's sold over 2 million copies, which is crazy. It's really cool. So that's been really fun. And so there's 5 books in that series. And again, that's like a straightforward series where they go in different types of video games. And so the first one is Full Blast. He gets a blaster on his arm, like Mega Man. Mega Man is the real Jesse's favorite video game. There's the second one is like an augmented reality. It's kind of like Pokemon Go, and so they're sneaking around. Now they're invisible unless somebody's looking at them with a phone, right? So they sneak into this video game company, see what's going on. And the third one, the robots come out from the video game into the real world, start building their levels in the real world. And the fourth one is like a retro game, and the fifth one is like a multiverses thing kind of deal, like the metaverses, like that kind of deal. So anyways, that was really fun to write. And then the Escape series is like a choose your own adventure. So now you're the hero of the book, and you're trying to figure out what to do, how to solve things. A funny thing with that one, the second book in the series, I wrote it and I came up with this idea. I'm like, man, this is an amazing idea for a game. No one's ever thought of this idea for a game. It's incredible. And so I turned it in, and in the game, like you go on board a spaceship, and there's people in your crew, and it turns out one person on the crew is the traitor, and then they're trying to kill somebody, and you're trying to figure out who it is. And as soon as I turned to the manuscript, Among Us became really popular. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's crazy! I just invented Among Us. But anyways, it's fun riffing on different video games, and picking up some stuff, and again trying to come up with some new things. But to me, like the most rewarding part is hearing from kids who's like, listen, I never liked reading before, but I picked up your books and it got me into it. Or parents of kids that maybe have some learning disabilities or reading disabilities, like, hey, this is the first book my kid actually has read front to back and is asking for, and is reading the rest of the series. So it's just been all a really, really cool journey. And I'm thankful for it. So anyways, that was a long answer to your question, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of background of where I'm coming from.
No, that's a great answer, man. That must be super sweet. I mean, not only like have you reached this plateau where you sold 2 million copies, but like to hear all those, testimonies and all those like all the feedback from people who love your game, love your like your books, and like that must feel so good. What was it like holding your first book in your hand for the first time?
It was cool. It was really fun to me. Like it was like I knew it was self-published, right? And so I'm like, this is awesome. Like for one thing, like I'd never written anything that long before. It's 140 pages or whatever, so it feels good to have that. But to me, I remember what sticks out is like a couple months, I guess, after I sold that. And I was walking the dog, and I was, again, refresh. So you bought my book. And it was, I don't know, 15 books for the day. And to me, I did some, quick math in my head, some very optimistic math. I'm like, do this. Like I can be an author. And to me, like, you know, like jumping up and doing the Rocky jump up and down and walking the dog and stuff like that. Like to me, that was the moment where, you know, it's like, well, this doesn't have to be just a one-off thing, this thing that I always wanted to do. And I did it. You know, like I did it, people are reading it, and I can keep doing it, you know. And so obviously now if I sell 15 books in a day, like I need to kind of reevaluate things. But for me then it was really cool. And that was a moment that sticks out to me for sure.
So I gotta ask you, like you've been a long time gamer, you've obviously been a long time author. You know, like with the way gaming is changed now, do you feel like the direction that you have to like think about a game or think about writing a book is going to change in the future as well? Like because like the industry is so different now. Like we have FirmSoft who have produced like these harder sort of like the Dark Souls genre, so to speak, the Souls genres. You have like the battle royale genres that are like taking off, like the Fortnites of the world. Like there's so many different genres now that wasn't kind of around whenever you started doing this.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, to me, it's really fun. Well, for one, like I write kids books, right? And so I'm trying to keep them as unobjectable as possible. And so like I'm mostly focused on games that kids can play, you know, and so things like that. So that narrows it down a little bit. But for me, like I really like, you know, getting into new games. I really like buying a new game and being able to write it off on my taxes as research. But you know, and so for me, like I love the possibilities that different things open up. So like that augmented reality one, like I wrote that as soon as Pokemon Go came out, because I'm like, this is a cool idea for a game for that kid could go into. You know, you get to be invisible, and there's monsters everywhere in the real world, and that's cool. So to me, like I love learning about the new different twists and turns that things take. I love talking to kids, seeing what they're into, because it just gives me different ideas for different directions stuff could go.
Yeah. So outside of your research, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah. So I don't play as much as I did when I was a kid, but for me, like I like playing with my son and with my kids. So Mario Kart is a staple, obviously, and then you know, some of those little games. For me, and then actually after the kids go to bed, my wife and I for years we've played Tetris against each other, just to, like wind down after the kids go to bed. So I'm pretty good at Tetris. So those two for me, personal time. Like I like to play games that usually are a couple years old that like everybody's like, yeah, this is a great game. And so if I didn't get to play it, and so I go back and play it. So I'm working through the Uncharted series right now.
Nathan Drake.
Yeah. So I'm on the third one now. That's awesome. I finished the two new Spider-Man games for the PlayStation. So those are really cool too. So I'll probably go through, you know, 1, 2, 3 games of those kind of games a year. On my own time, in addition to some other stuff that I do. And then again, like I'll pick up a couple games in a genre I'm thinking about writing, and probably won't finish the whole thing, but just play it, see what's up with it, and try to get some ideas that way.
You know, like from all the games you mentioned in your top 5, some of the games you've been playing lately are more story centric, to where they lean more towards their narrative adventures. Like, how does it feel as a author to actually play like some of these story centric games like Uncharted and Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's cool to see how they work stuff in. You know, for me, again, like I'm not great at video games, and so for me, the fun part is those cutscenes, is the, you know, the interactive ways they figure out how to tell the story. Growing up, you know, it's always like you're playing cutscene, playing cutscene, playing cutscene. So it's cool seeing the newer games, how they're able to incorporate that story into the gameplay. And that's really inspiring for me, for sure.
So what is your backlog like? I know you got to be like, I'll never get to these games, but like what's some of the games that you're like, oh man, one day if I got time, these are the games I'm gonna play.
Man, that's funny. My brother is always like, my brother Jesse is a much bigger gamer than me, and so he's always like, hey, you need to play this, you need to play this. So he's playing Celeste right now, which is another game that's I know that's up my alley. And he's like, he was like telling me, well, he's like, are you gonna play this anytime soon? I'm like, if I get like a debility, if I break my legs or something, Jesse, I might get to that in the next year or two. But I mean, games like that, again, like The Last of Us, stuff like that, like those kinds of games where it's like, man, I know this is God of War, like all those games that everybody's like, this is an amazing game, and all that stuff is up my alley. And I'm sure I'll get to it someday if I break my legs or in several years from now. So we'll see.
So as the time we're recording this, like the Last of Us TV show just had its debut episode. Have you checked that out yet?
No, but I want to. It looks cool.
It really is. It really is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to this, like you told us about your video game origin story, so to speak, your writing origin story. Like, what started like that journey for you? What was the moment that you were like, I'm going to do this? Like the moment you picked up the pen.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. For me, it was finding out that my daughter was going to be born, and like I was just kind of like, oh, this is a thing I've always wanted to do, and like maybe I should do this before I have kids. I don't know. Like I at the time I ran my own business selling stuff on Amazon, and it was going well, but I'm like, okay, maybe this will give me a kick in the pants to really crank that up a notch. And for me, it was a little bit like this gave me a kick to do this, to try writing. And so like it was a thing I always wanted to do. When I do school visits, I talk to the kids about the process, because for me, it took like a couple tries to sit down and do it. It was you'd sit down and get a paragraph written, and then check out Twitter or watch YouTube or whatever, and waste the day and stuff like that. So for me, it was figuring out how to get the self-discipline to figure out a way to turn off the internet. I literally, in those early days, would unplug the internet from my wall and throw my phone across the room, and then sit down and write. And I would get my 2 hours a day in, get a chapter written, and pretty soon I had the book done. And so once I was able to do it and kind of prove to myself I can do this, it was a lot easier. And then again, obviously, once I started selling, it was a lot easier to keep going, and to make it a habit that stuck. So it was my daughter finding out that we're gonna have a baby, that kind of got it started, and then figuring out a way to have the self-discipline to keep going, was what kept me finishing the book.
Man, it's so funny to hear that you basically had to turn off the Wi-Fi to kind of get into the zone, so to speak.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I could just imagine like your wife's on the couch just minding her own business, watching Netflix, and all of a sudden the internet just goes out randomly.
It was funny. Yeah, I would do it in the morning too, so she'd still be in bed. But I remember like the third or fourth day, she's like yelled down from upstairs, "Why are you answering your phone?" Because she always texts me instead of talks to me, even though we live in the same house. And I was like, oh, because I threw it across the room. She's like, what? What? Our internet's not working again? Like, it's because I keep unplugging it. She's like, just turn it off on your computer. But it worked, and you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So what was it like going to a school for the first time and like talking to the kids, as a successful author, man? That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. It's my favorite part of the job. Like you're a celebrity for the day, for sure. Like they don't know that you're not really famous. And so they're like, this guy is the best. Yeah, this is the most famous person I'll ever meet. So it feels good. And then, again, there's kids there that have read the book, when you get feedback from them, and that's cool. But that is my favorite part of the job. Like it's the dessert, where you get to have fun with the kids for a day. You're sitting there writing by yourself all day, and you don't see anybody. You're kind of locked in a room all day. And so to kind of get out there, see the kids, see who you're writing for, get some feedback, get notes from them and stuff like that. Like there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What the first time you did that was did you have like that Eminem reaction to where like your palms are sweaty and everything like that? It was a nervousness kind of there.
You know what? I actually lead the kids church at my church every week.
Oh, okay.
So there's like 100 kids there. So I'm pretty used to it. I'm pretty good at talking to kids and things like that. So like the skill set of writing a book is not quite the same as talking to a group of kids. But I've been doing it for long enough where I feel pretty comfortable with it. And again, like you have the head start of these kids are on your side from the get-go. So if you don't, and you write about video games, so they're pretty on board with that too. So anyways, yeah, it's a good time for sure.
That sounds like fun. So I gotta ask you, like, what would you imagine your like books as video games right now? Like, how would you imagine that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids, I get those from kids like, why is this going to be a video game? When somebody makes it a video game. So, I write, they're all different.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's a version of Among Us out there. If somebody turns it on, but the first one is Full Blast, and that is like a so in the game it is kind of like a first person shooter where you have a blaster and there's these aliens around, and it's really over the top, and you're going to different locations in the United States. So like there's a level where the statue of the Statue of Liberty takes off like a rocket ship, and you're in there, and the aliens all chase you in there, and there's a platform where you're jumping to the top of the Statue of Liberty. You have to jump up, get out, and then it takes off like a rocket ship, and the aliens go up to the moon, and you destroy the aliens in New York City. So for me, like that's always the game where I'm like, man, that would be cool to see that. Where it just it's really over the top. It's very silly, over the top. But again, they're all different. But that one is one that I'd love to see, in a perfect world, turn into a video game sometime. I think that'd be fun.
That'd be really cool. So, which one of your main characters would you want to see in Super Smash Brothers then?
Oh, which one of my main characters in Super Smash Brothers? That's funny. In the book, so the main characters are Jesse and Eric. Those are the two main characters. And again, they're based on my brother Jesse, my friend who I grew up playing video games. His name is Eric. So in the book, Eric is the gamer. He's really good at. He's not really good at everything, but he's very enthusiastic about everything. So I'm going with Eric from the books. If he's going down, he's gonna have a good time doing it at least.
I like that. What's his moveset gonna be like? The blaster? What else is it gonna have?
Yeah, he's got the blaster. In one of the books, he kind of cobbles together a rocket-powered sledgehammer, where he takes a rocket thing and attaches it to a sledgehammer. So he's pretty resourceful, and he's got a lot of stuff. So anything he can cobble together like that. He's got the blaster from the first book. But yeah, he's up for anything. So he'll try anything once.
I like that. So I bet you'd lose your mind to see him in Smash just beating Kirby down a little bit.
That'd be cool.
Oh hilarious. Man, I like that. So Dustin, I loved hearing about your origin story. I loved hearing about like all the things you've been through to get to this point. What words of inspiration would you give to aspiring writers right now?
Yeah, so for me, like I always tell aspiring writers, I always tell kids, just finish it. A lot of people like, hey, I always wanted to write a book, and a lot of people won't get to the point of starting the book, and a lot of those people like don't get to the point of finishing it, and that's a shame because for me, like I was saying before, like it's really cool to be able to make a living off this. It's really cool to sell a lot of books, but for me, the best part is giving it to a kid and seeing their eyes light up, hearing, how they laugh through the book or they want to keep reading and things like that. And anybody can have that feeling. You just got to finish it and you got to give it to somebody who's going to connect with it. And for me, like, that's what keeps me going is hearing from those kids, is getting that reaction. And it's the best part of being an author. Like, I don't write books, to keep to myself. Like, my favorite part of writing a book is giving it out, is having people that and so anyways, what I would say is like, don't worry. A lot of people get in their heads about, well, what's going to happen with this? How do I copyright stuff? How do I get that? And just get it out there. Just put it out there. Do your best. You'll learn so much more by finishing something than just by starting it. And once you put it out there, like, you don't know what's going to happen. It might sell 2 million copies. More likely, like, it's not going to reach a huge audience. But if it just reaches an audience of one that gets something out of it, like, that makes such a huge difference. It's really rewarding for you as an author. And again, like, you learn so much more by just doing it.
Oh, that's good advice. So Dustin, I gotta ask, I've seen so many people have really cool ideas for video games, and if you were just approached by a AAA studio and they were like, hey, we want you to write a video game, whatever comes to your mind, and it's not your IPs, so to speak, what would you want to write about?
Wow, that's hard, man. I'd have to think about that a little bit. I'll tell you this: when I was a kid, I had. I'll tell you about my idea when I was a kid. If you would ask me this when I was 10, I had it all sketched out. The next console, and it was a terrible idea, one of the worst ideas I've ever had. But it was like, I thought it was a thing that is connected. Like you had a headset on, and it was back before games had headsets and things like that. But it was controlled by your voice. And so I had an idea for a baseball game where you say the word swing and he swings. And so I think I had some other peripherals that you could use. But I guess that's my idea when I was a kid, where instead of pressing a button, which is very easy, you have to say words to accomplish those actions. Like in my concept, like I never even dreamed that you would talk to somebody through your headset. I just thought you'd be shouting out commands. So that's my idea when I was 10. I'm glad nobody asked me that when I was 10. I'm gonna have to give some more thought to it now.
I gotcha.
That's a great question.
I got you. So Dustin, it's been fun talking to you a little bit, but now I got to ask you just a major question. It's probably one of the hardest questions I normally have to ask guests, and that is, are you ready? And the reason I ask that is because it is pro nerd trivia time. It is it is one of the hardest things anybody has ever had to endure in the face of the planet, because you are going to have to answer 5 questions from 5 different types of nerdy categories. If you get all 5 right, you will be granted and earned the title of pro nerd. Dustin, no pressure or anything, but I've interviewed tons of people, like tons and tons of people, but only one person has gotten that moniker of pro nerd. We've got a lot of ties at 3. I think that's the second place is all at 3 questions. So
if I get to 3, I'm gonna be really excited.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm like, you've I feel like with your background, you're probably like diverse in all sorts of different kinds of nerdiness, and some of our categories will probably hit you pretty hard. So I think you're going to do pretty well. Are you ready though?
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So let's spin the wheel. All right. So spinning the wheel here. Our first category is in the realm of the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
All right. Have you seen a lot of these movies?
I have seen, it's been after Endgame. I trailed off a little bit, but I've seen most of them.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so this one is this one might be a pretty easy one. It depends on who you are as a person. But which Avenger does Loki enslave to do his bidding in the Avengers movie?
Is that Hulk? Is it Hulk?
What? One more time?
The Hulk?
I'm sorry, that was incorrect.
No, who is it?
Yes. Which Avenger does Loki enslave to do his bidding in the Avengers? It was Hawkeye.
Oh, you're right. It's been a while for that first one. Man, all right. Oh, that was my category. I'm like, okay, MCU, at least I have it. Oh, this is hard. The pressure got to me.
Yeah. I mean, that was a good guess, because he did trick the Hulk. Like he sort of like planned around and tricked the Hulk into transforming. But no, he actually mind wiped Clint Barton on that one.
Boy, this is disappointing to myself.
All right, so this one is a little bit of a challenging one, at least in my opinion. But it's in the realm of Nintendo.
All right.
In Nintendo, which was Nintendo's second 3-dimensional game and was the first game to use polygonal graphics?
I feel like, so I remember there was Mario 64, and I'm gonna say Pilot Wings. Is it Pilot Wings?
Oh my goodness, that is really close. Al, that is really close. Unfortunately, the answer is not Pilot Wings, but it is a character that uses Pilot Wings. It is Star Fox.
Star Fox. Oh, okay. So the question was this. What was the question again?
Which Nintendo? Which was Nintendo's second 3-dimensional game and was the first game to use polygonal? Oh man,
my head was stuck. If I was thinking through, my head was stuck on N64 games, and so I feel like Pilot Wings was like the second N64 game. But you're right, Star Fox was on the Super Nintendo. It was 3D. Oh man, Sebastion. All right, three's gonna be tough. All right, keep going.
I think you got it. You're gonna turn this around. But so our next question is in the realm of Disney.
Okay. All right. My kids
feel
like
good
Disney.
I feel good about this. All right, so, all right. What was the name of the little human girl from Monsters, Inc.?
Oh, Boo.
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite. Boo, of course.
Was it one of your favorites for real?
That's one. The Monsters Inc. is probably my favorite Pixar. I really like Monsters Inc.
I like that one too. I really enjoyed that one too. Did you watch Monsters University?
I did, yeah. I don't remember too much about it. I started watching with my kids, and then they got scared. This guy got scared like 10 minutes, and we had to shut it off. So maybe later we'll catch up on that one.
I get it completely. I get it. So the next one though, our next category, the wheel has stopped on Harry Potter.
Ooh, this is not my category. This is not my category. I think I read the first 3.5 books. If this comes from one of those, I might be able to answer it, but probably not.
Okay. I hope so. All right, this one is a little bit on the tricky side. In Harry Potter, what was the name of the character who betrays Lily and James Potter? And to further,
so is that his parents?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's his parents. What was the name of the character who betrayed Harry Potter's parents, Lily and James Potter? Excluding, and this is excluding, it was one of the Marauders, but so this is excluding everyone else. This is specifically talking about one of the Marauders, and that was Moony, Padfoot, Wormtail, and James were the 4 Marauders.
Is that a multiple choice then, or it's not the Marauders?
It is the Marauders. What I'm saying is, I'm giving you a hint. It's like one of the Marauders.
Thanks. But I appreciate it.
It's one of the Marauders.
Voldemort was going to be my first guess, so I'm going to throw a dart against the wall and say James. Is that right?
James was the guy who got killed.
Oh, okay, all right. So give me the multiple choice again. Give me the multiple choice.
All right, so you got Moony, Padfoot, or Wormtail.
Wormtail. It's got to be Wormtail.
It was Wormtail. All right.
Really?
So, yeah, you got that one.
All
right. So just for your information, Wormtail's name is Peter Pettigrew.
Yes, I feel like I remember that.
Okay. So we got our fifth question, and our fifth question, you get to choose between category A or category B. I can't tell you what the categories are, but you get to choose between A or B.
I'll go A, but you gotta tell me what both categories are once. All
right. Once we're done, you can go to travel the road not seen, so to speak.
Sure. Choose your own adventure. Okay,
yeah. So in the world in A, that is in the realm of actual Pixar. That was a pretty strong one there.
Okay. All right.
All right. So in the realm of Pixar, let's see what question pops up. Ooh, okay. This one's all right. What was Pixar's first fully computer animated feature film?
So a feature film?
Yeah. So what was Pixar's first?
So Toy Story, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Exactly
I thought you were gonna ask about the shorts or something like that. Yeah.
No.
I got that. Okay. All right.
No.
I got 3.
Yeah.
What was the other category?
Okay, so let me see what D. Let me go back and then see what D would have been. All right, B would have been in the realm of DC Comics.
Oh, I'm not as strong in DC, so.
Okay. All right. Do you want to hear the question to see if you would have got it?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay. All right. So, in the realm of DC. Ooh, this would have been a hard one. Well, I guess kind of depending on what. It kind of depends. All right, so what was the name of the character, like the full government name of the character Poison Ivy?
Oh, no idea. Does it start with a P? Is that right or no?
Yeah, it does.
Does it? Okay, I feel like that was in my head. If I could, I'm gonna say a P name. I'm gonna say Penelope. Is Penelope one of the?
I feel like that's kind of close. It was Pamela Isley was her name.
Okay. All right. Wouldn't have got that. I'm glad I picked A.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, cool. Hey, I got 3. That's what I was aiming for. I am mad at myself because the other 2 were gettable. The Hulk one, I had it in my head where it's like they have him caged up and there was something going on there. So that was, but The Hulk one is Star Fox. I'm going to be kicking myself. The pressure got to me, Sebastion, and but at least I got to 3.
So have you played Star Fox beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't finish it, but yeah, I'm familiar with that one. We didn't have a Super Nintendo. Again, Anthony Laporta had a Super Nintendo, so
Shout out to Anthony.
We would have played. And shout out to Anthony Laporta. My brother Jesse has played through that probably multiple times, but I haven't played through it, but I'm familiar with it and I have played it.
Okay. So my follow-up question to that would be like, what's your favorite MCU movie that you've seen so far?
Yeah, good question. For me, I did really like Endgame. That was like, it brought it all together. And it just, I liked how that wrapped up. So I liked Endgame. The last Spider-Man was really fun. No Way Home was a good one. And let's see, I liked Ant-Man. I'm a big Ant-Man guy. It's silly and it's fun. So that's more my speed. So those 3, and then Winter Soldier. They filmed it in Cleveland.
Winter Soldier.
Where they filmed in Cleveland. I was working downtown there, so I remember like in my building, I went down to the lobby while they were doing it, and there was like a car chase that filming by the office. So maybe if you freeze frame real quick, you see me pretending to be on my laptop, but really watching the action.
So man, you actually got to see them like do the car chase from Winter Soldier with Samuel Jackson and such.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's funny. You know what? A funny story with that, if we have a second, but
no, go ahead.
There was a casting call, and it was like for extras or for whatever, and that you had to go down to the library, and there was one that fit the bill like perfectly for me. It was I think it was called like Thin Man, and it was like a scrawny guy who was like under 5'10" or something like that, and so I think it's who they used as like the body double for Steve when he's like, it's a flashback or whatever. So I had to be shirtless, which wouldn't have gone great for me. And so anyways, I remember like they like lined us all up on the lawn of the library, and it was just like a line of the saddest, scrawniest guys you've ever seen. It was so good. And like I was trying to like kind of shrink down a little bit because I was a little bit too tall for what they were looking for, and like I just remember the lady like going down the line. She's like, too tall, and she's like, okay, you, and she gets to me and she looks at me and she's like, you have too much of a build, leave. And I'm like, this is the first time in my life anybody has told me I have a build. Like, this is way better than being in the movie. Thank you. It was so good.
She typecast you as being too muscular to play, like
too muscular to be in, and it was truly a great compliment.
That's amazing.
It was one of the best moments of my life.
That is amazing. You were almost at the Winter Soldier, but nevertheless, like a real film person told you were too muscular to be scrawny Steve. That's amazing.
Yeah, it felt great. Never before since said, and never since. So, but I got that one moment.
Honestly, that should be in the list of your accomplishments right next to selling 2 million copies of a book.
I know. When you asked me for a rundown at the beginning, like I should have just said that story, and I think that's all that we would have gone off of.
For sure. Dustin, it's been great having you on the show. Before we go, though, I got a couple of last questions, and these are just one is like a multi-fire edition of the show, and then the after one is the easiest question you get asked all throughout the show. So
sure.
The rapid fire one. Okay, so as an author, like, do you ever see something whether it be a video game or a movie, and you're like, man, I would have wrote that a little differently?
Yeah, for me, like I don't focus on that as much. Like I just focus, if it's stuff, it's like, that wasn't for me, or like I know how editing process goes with this stuff where it's like, this is the vision you have in your head, and then like stuff happens and other people put their stuff into it. So for me, I'm not that way. For me, it's more like, man, I wish I would have written that. Like I really wish I would have written that. That is, so for me, that's the stuff that like I kind of think about a little bit more. Obviously there's points where it's like I would have done this a little bit differently, but for me it's more like I wish I would have written that.
I feel you. So Follow-up question to that then. What is the entry point into the book that you think is like the best entry point for newcomers?
Yeah, book one of the chapter in the series, it is kind of, they follow each other. So it's great to read that one first. If you're like more of a choose your own adventure kind of person, those are standalone. So the first book in that series is great too. That one's called The Secret of Phantom Island. That one does draw inspiration from Uncharted and Indiana Jones and that kind of thing, like it's a treasure hunting thing. So both of those are good. You can start with either one, but that first trap book is the most popular.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. My rapid questions. Here we go.
Yes.
All right, who's the best Ninja Turtle?
Donatello.
Okay, gotcha. If you put Mario and Nathan Drake in a room and told them they had to fight like fist fight each other to leave, who you got?
I mean, it depends on if Mario has a power up. Mario, you can't dodge fire for that long. So I'm gonna say if there's a flower in there, Mario's got it. Obviously Nathan Drake is pretty great at fist fighting, and Mario is not. I don't think he's trained in the martial arts, but I'm gonna go with Mario because I'm saying he gets a power up.
I gotcha. So, are y'all going to go see the upcoming Mario movie?
Yeah, for sure. My son is pumped for it.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Does pineapples belong on pizza?
No, that's silly.
Oh my God, you just bluntly said, no, that's silly, man.
Keep going. Those rapid fires. Just keep going. Obviously, very silly, Sebastion.
All right. Best MCU character.
MCU character. Ooh, I mean, Spider-Man is my default just because he was always my favorite growing up. And again, my son's a big Spider-Man guy, so we're a Spider-Man household all the way.
All right, best video game character.
Best video game character. Good one. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna give a silly answer and say Mario. Not that he's a great character, but that his games kind of started everything, and it's like the most recognizable kind of early character. So I'm gonna go Mario just because.
All right, best video game movie adaptation.
Video game movie adaptation. I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen the Sonic games, the Sonic ones. That's probably the first, so probably the Sonic one. I'm trying to think the last one that I saw. And I'm drawing a blank. Hopefully, I know it's not a movie, but hopefully The Last of Us lives up to it.
Okay.
Because I understand that it's pretty good. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. All right. So last one, where can the good people find you?
Well, I'm not huge on social media, but I have a Facebook page for my books, DustinBradyBooks.com. DustinBradyBooks.com is my website, and then you can find me on anywhere on that. And then my books are all on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold.
Okay, I lied. This one's the real last one. If you inevitably accidentally, unfortunately, hurt yourself and accidentally break your legs, what game are you going to be playing? As you recover.
That's really funny. Let's see. I guess I have to do Celeste because I told my brother I would do it, and it is up my alley. Like it's a hard 2D platformer game, so that one probably. This one I got Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart a year ago. Paid full price for it, and I have yet to touch it. And because I was gonna play with my son, and I turned it on, and for whatever reason, he's like, "This is too scary." And so I'm gonna get to Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart if for no other reason I paid full price for it a year ago. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You gotta let us know when you come back on the show what you think about Ratchet and Clank. What your son thought about it because he's gonna love it. He's eventually.
I know he will. I know he will. That'll be cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So, Dustin, it's been great having you on the show. Any last things you'd like to say to the audience before we leave, though?
No, I appreciate you guys, sticking with me, and hopefully this kind of encourage you if you have a project in your head, whether it's writing a book, starting a YouTube channel, working on an indie game, something. Hopefully this encourage you to either start it or to pick it back up and finish it. You never know what's going to happen, and you can. You can change a lot of lives and your own and other people, even if it's just a little bit. It's really cool to be able to do that.
For sure. Dustin, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being on the show. You've been great. Anytime you're available, love to have you back. I absolutely loved having you on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was so much fun. It was really, really cool. I had a blast.
I did too. I did too. So, Dustin, we're all out of time for this episode. Thank you so much again for being on the show. See you next time. Peace. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked the video, hit that like button. Also, for more videos just like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right here. Thanks again for watching the video, and for more like it, stay right here at the Pro Nerd Report channel. So that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Also hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this one. I also want to let you know about the Single Player Experience Discord server. It's a perfect place for single player gamers to talk about the good single player games that they've been playing lately and to get video game recommendations. Think of it kind of like a book club for single player gamers. The link to join will be in the description. Once you're in, feel free to share your video game backlog list, talk about the good single player games you've been playing, or give your feedback on the show. If you have a game you think it should be recommended and should be reviewed, let me know about it right there. Before we go, I just want to thank you once again for listening to today's episode. Stay safe, stay gaming, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.